So what are the implications of this live contingent market data on the internal or the FTE workforce and enterprise people analytics?
A couple. One is if the sigma is gone, as we're mentioning, then that means that the consumption of extended workers are greater than ever. We certainly wouldn't be the first to talk about these big double-digit percentages that are extended workers versus employee workers. So 40% is not uncommon. We famous examples of companies that are over 60% of literal non-employee extended workers. And so with that much of a comparable where you're almost at a 50-50 and in some cases even lopsided, you have no choice but to understand how the extended workforce fits into the overall workforce. By definition, you're duty bound to do so. The other, though, is some of the technologies that are used to understand the amorphic nature of work, where it's not always just this discrete job title that does something exactly that way using exactly these systems or methods, given how much things have been, a bit more mixed bag and there's attributes of skills and different realities. The tools that exist on the extended workforce can then also be used on the full-time workforce. Because if you're going to do any of these comparisons, you need those types of AI tools to be able to figure out what is similar enough that's worthy of comparison before I make the comparison.
Sure. Could you maybe dive into one of these examples of a comparison that you've seen?
Yeah, sure. Everyone has software developers. Everyone also knows that no two software developers are necessarily the same in what they bring with capabilities, experience, et cetera. So if company X has 2,000 software developers and they're just labeled as software developers and everyone's looking at a median or an average of the last year of that, I would contend that they actually know nothing, that is a theoretical point in the middle of something. And so if you have your software developers from employee space and then software developers from extended workforce space, comparing those average kind of doesn't tell you all that much that you're going to go do something about. So using the types of tools that know what are the types of software developers at the level of skill specificity, that's what enables you to make business decisions of what type of workers do I have where under which types of arrangements, and do those align with my business strategy or not. Now you're in the right kind of executive business planning conversation and not just bringing trivial artifacts to a conversation like that.
Yeah, that's great. And the idea of, kind of the job of software developer is that as that particular field and that job has, matured, there's all kinds of differences in roles and differences in skills. So you mentioned looking at the skills perhaps rather than the title. How does this data help an organization maybe take this a notch down from title to specific skills?
Yeah, if you look at job titles, again, I'm old enough to remember when job titles meant something, accountant, I knew what that person did. And then everything became so specialized, especially as technology came into it, where the subtypes of the skills would have a greater impact on where do I find someone like this, with which types of suppliers, how much might it cost, how hard might it be to find them. All of those questions have much more dependency on the underlying skills than just this broad title. So titles anymore actually don't describe a discrete thing. They really become a label that describes an umbrella of things. And what's under that umbrella are the skills or the attributes of what actually makes up the work. Then we can be way less, married to the, to the sanctity of just titles. 3 titles might be describing loosely the same kind of thing, and we're okay with that because we understand the skill definitions beneath them, and we can make sense of how those things compare and where they're different, and how that impacts their comparison to core metrics like market rate or speed to fill those kinds of things.